1977 podcast hosted by Chris Burkhardt.
Hello there, Trailblazers fans. Welcome into the 1977 podcast. Sorry if the music is just a little loud there. Trying a few new things out here, trying to get some streaming going, get some videos recorded, have some fun here on the 1977 podcast, a podcast named after your 1977 World Championship Portland Trailblazers. It's been quite some time since I got in front of the mic and recorded for you. Been busy, obviously, with all of my iHeartRadio duties and whatnot. But also, as you can see, we've been editing and building and making a fancy studio. It's a mess. It's not even finished yet, but it's the NBA trade deadline. So I had to get in here and talk about your Portland Trailblazers just a little bit, as E Mamba says. Hey, Mamba. Hey, what's up? That's right. Who is he talking about? That's just guys in the chat, because we're live and recording this for a podcast. We're doing multiple things at once. YouTube wouldn't let me stream for another 24 hours because I just enabled it, but we'll get there eventually too. But the takeaway, we got to talk about your Portland Trailblazers here while we have some time. And it's crazy. I thought the trade deadline was an absolute whirlwind. Anthony Davis getting shipped out. You had earlier trades with Trae Young. They're both in Washington. You had Jaren Jackson Jr. going to Utah. That might have been a head scratcher. Ivica Zubac going to Indiana. James Harden going to Cleveland, of all places, because he likes to move. There was mass movement across the NBA. And then on NBA trade deadline itself, it was pretty quiet in Rip City, and a lot of people not too happy just because they wanted a big splash move, and Giannis was being rumored. That didn't happen, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. The Bucks kind of held it up. Blazers were watching intently what was going on with that situation. It really sounded like they were looking to get in on that trade as a possible third team, really kind of figure things out a little bit. Maybe it was a fourth team, I don't know, but I don't think they were in on Giannis by itself or by himself, but they were going to try to monitor that situation to get in, maybe offload a Jeremy Grant contract, one of those picks, what have you, to bring someone else in and continue to build the roster. But it's not as if the Blazers were completely quiet at the deadline. You could look at NBA trade deadline day and say, oh man, no one showed up and no one called the Blazers and Joe Cronin sat on his hands. That's not the case. That is not the case. Because there was a move. It just didn't happen on NBA trade deadline day. It happened a few days prior. And that was sending Duop Reath to Atlanta and 2 second-round picks for sharpshooting 6'8" guard Vit Krejci. Krejci comes in. He's a 40% career three-point shooter, has not shot less than 40% over the last 3 seasons there with Atlanta. And I love the move. I think most people did love the move. It was very good for your Portland Trailblazers. The thing is, no one is sitting here going, that's the trade that makes you a championship team. Why is Portland so excited about that move? Because Portland is the worst three-point shooting team in the NBA. They are top 5 in three-point attempts per season, or per game right now. But they are dead last in three-point percentage. So something needed to happen. So when you take the worst three-point shooting team in the NBA and you add a guy who is a career 40% shooter from beyond the arc, I think that's a pretty good thing to have. I do not see how that hurts the Trailblazers in any way. In fact, it absolutely makes them better. Now, he has played 1 game with the Trailblazers since that trade, and that was their last home game. And in that game, you watched it, and you're like, okay, I see what we're cooking with here. I see how this is going to work. He only scored 5 points in that game. He did struggle from beyond the arc a little bit. He got really, really good shots. Of course, the whole team started out really hot from the jump, and then they cooled down. This was against Phoenix. They lost that game 130-125, but you started to see just slightly how defenses were guarding that Trailblazer team because of all of a sudden having a guy who could shoot that basketball. He gets the ball off quick. Not a lot of wasted motion in that shot. He had a couple nice passes. If only Jeremy Grant would have finished the layup, that would have been beautiful. But no, I thought it was a good game. And at the end of the day, you're adding someone who can shoot the basketball and do so at a high clip. So that's good. That is good for your Portland Trailblazers team. And it's good to have someone who can go in there and shoot the basketball and actually make defenders fear them just a little bit. You add a 40% three-point shooter to a team that shoots barely over 33%, and you are in a good spot. So I'll take that one all night long. And then as you know, it wasn't a trade, but it's going to have the impact of a trade. That's how important it's going to be. Is, you know, as of this recording, I'm recording this and we're live right now. This is 2:00. Blazers game day on Rip City Radio starts in 3 hours. Scoot Henderson's back. That's as big as a trade. Right after the trade deadline, you're adding a new guy to the roster. Scoot Henderson, after missing all of the season to this point with a torn hamstring, here he is. He's back. The Blazers have their young guard that they got to see what they have in him moving forward. And I do think that the future for the rest of this season is mighty bright for your Portland Trailblazers because they have had one of the harder schedules up to this point, and they've had some of the most man games missed in the entire league. Man games missed is, you know, if 5 guys are out that game, that's 5 man games. You know, and you start adding those up, it's up over 200 for this Trailblazers team. That's a lot of man games. And they have been playing teams like Oklahoma City. Had to play them 4 times before you got to the calendar turning over to 2026. Games against Golden State, which you won. Those are nice. That was a good team prior to Jimmy Butler getting hurt. And then you just went on this 6-game losing streak. I know that hurts. Ow, pain. We get it. But through that stretch, you were playing some of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, excluding the Washington Wizards. Over that 6 games, you played Toronto, you played Boston, you played Washington, you played New York, you played Cleveland, and you played Phoenix. Well, right now, New York, Boston, Cleveland, and Toronto are 2, 3, 4, and 5, respectively, in the Eastern Conference standings. Washington, we know, was the outlier. You really wish the Blazers would have won that game. And then Phoenix is 7th in the Eastern Conference. Western Conference. They've bounced back a little bit between being a play-in team and a play-off team. They're just 1 game behind Minnesota, Los Angeles, and Houston right now. That's how tight the race is in that cluster. 1 game is the difference between Phoenix being 7th and being a play-in team or being 4th. Hell, it's just 2 games between 7th and 3rd where Denver is. Meanwhile, Portland is 16.5 back. They are a half game behind the Clippers as of this recording. A Clippers team, keep in mind, that traded their starting center, Ivica Zubac, and traded the face of their franchise in James Harden. They got Kawhi Leonard, but we know how little he plays. That team might start to falter. Really weird that they decided to shake it up when they have been arguably one of the best teams over the last month and a half. They went from being completely out of the picture to firmly entrenched in the play-in, if not continuing to rise up a little bit. Now, behind Portland, you have Memphis and you have Dallas. Memphis is 2 games behind your Trailblazers with 2 important games coming up right now for Portland. They will play Memphis tonight and tomorrow as of this recording. And then you have Dallas there, who is 4 games behind the Blazers, and they traded Anthony Davis. I say that all to talk about the fact that the 6-game losing streak that the Blazers are on, they played really good teams outside of that Washington loss. Shouldn't have lost that one. Denny wanted to play against his former team. I think you could tell back just wasn't it. He was definitely tight. That's why he hasn't played a bunch since. But I do bring up Memphis and Dallas because I said the rest of the schedule gets better for your Portland Trailblazers. The rest of the way, my friends, 2 games against Memphis coming up this weekend. And then they still have game against Utah, Chicago, Charlotte, Atlanta. 2 games on the schedule still against Indiana. 2 games on the schedule now against Charlotte. 2 games on the schedule still against Brooklyn. They got 2 games against the LA Clippers, who have, kind of decided that they might be out. Still got games against Milwaukee. Is Giannis going to play by that time? Who knows? But when you got Brooklyn twice, Indiana twice, Charlotte twice, got Chicago on the list, you got Milwaukee on the list, you got Washington on the list. Those are the 5 teams that are on the outside of the play-in right now in the Eastern Conference. And then Charlotte just bumped in there. They're 24-28. They've had their ups and downs. Meanwhile, you got the games against Memphis. They're on the outside looking in. You got games against Sacramento still coming up on the Trailblazer schedule. In fact, the last game of the year is against Sacramento. They are the worst team in the Western Conference right now. You got games against Utah. They're the 3rd worst team in the Western Conference right now. This schedule is far easier than it was through November and December. So now you're going to get Deni Avdija back, hopefully post All-Star break. You're going to get Scoot Henderson back tonight. You're getting to as close as healthy as you've been in a long time. You're getting to the point where Matisse Thybulle's out, and who knows if he ever plays a game again. We'll talk about that here in a second. And Dame is out, and we've known that he wasn't going to play at all this year, so that's not a surprise to anybody. But in general, yeah, schedule's going to get easier. Things are looking up. Go team. So yes, they didn't make a big trade deadline splash outside of Vit Krejci, which is massive. Again, getting a shooter who comes in, he's like instant. He can have an off night. He's instantly still your best shooter. You're in a real good spot. Now the questions are, who do the Blazers pivot from if they intend to sign 2 guys who have been absolutely incredible for your Portland Trailblazers to this point? And those 2 guys are Sidy Cissoko and Caleb Love. Caleb Love has been one of the top 10 rookies this season. That's saying a lot for a guy who is undrafted and is on a 2-way deal. And Sidy Cissoko has also been incredible coming in, and he's played at point guard. He started at forward. He's played center. Like, he's played everywhere as the injuries have piled up, shown that he's gotten better. The struggle is this team, your Portland Trailblazers, doesn't have a roster spot for either of those guys. Those are 2-way guys who are just about to max out their 50-game allotment. So what do you do if you're the Trailblazers and the Blazers do have options? I don't necessarily see them needing to sign both of them right now. I think Sidy Cissoko is probably the preferred one of the 2. The defensive versatility, the ability to play the multiple positions. Caleb Love, I don't think they need to make a ton of moves to go sign him just yet because of everyone coming back healthy and the addition of Vit Krejci, who they're going to play small forward, shooting guard type player. He's going to space that floor. So now you have Caleb Love, who, again, massive credit to him for what he's done this year, but he's battling for minutes now with a Jrue Holiday who's healthy, Blake Wesley who's healthy, Scoot Henderson who's healthy, Shaedon Sharpe who's been healthy for most of the year, and Vit Krejci who's going to go in that rotation as well. So he's kind of the odd man out. As were Sidy Cissoko, the ability to play center, power forward, small forward, go in through different spots makes him more valuable, especially with Chris Murray still dealing with an injury. So where did they free up that roster spot? I think the most logical spot to do so is Matisse Thybulle. Now, before you go, whoa, why Matisse Thybulle? He's making $10 million a year or whatever it is. And, that's, I don't know if that's a guy you go off of. You got Ryan Rupert and all these other guys. Well, the thing is, Matisse Thybulle is on your books no matter what. He's not going anywhere. So you didn't trade him. He's an expiring deal. He's owed that money. He's played all of 4 games this year. He has played 19 games over the last 2 seasons with your Trailblazers. At this point, if health cannot be trusted, and he's not the difference when he does come back between you making a championship run or not, at least I don't think a lot of people do. All-world defender, I'll give him that. But if he's only played 19 games, he's going to hit free agency. Odds are he's probably not going to re-sign. Keep in mind, he didn't want to sign with you in the first place. He signed a free agent deal with Dallas that Portland matched. And I'm pretty sure he wasn't very happy about it at the time. He's a professional, though. That's why he shows up, does his thing. But it makes sense to cut bait with that because you're on the hook for the rest of that contract. Regardless, you can waive him. You can meet in the middle, buy him out for like 80% of it, save a little money, and stay out of the tax, and then use that open spot to sign Sidy Cissoko. Now, since you didn't pull in a trade that was lopsided in any way to free up an extra spot, then you start looking at your other fringe guys. Robert Williams is there. A lot of people throwing his name out there. I don't think they touch him. I think that they found a very good backup guard or a backup center in Robert Williams. He fits that role well. He knows what he is. He has been so productive with his 15 minutes a night. Of course, availability could be an issue moving forward, but I think the training staff has him dialed in, is playing very, very smart with his injury status. He hasn't been playing the back-to-backs, and they've been easing him through it. And I think he probably has a chance. I think the team believes that they can re-sign him. And if you get him back at, 8-10 mil, what he's worth right now, steal, take it all day long. Matisse Thybulle, on the other hand, I do not think is going to come back to Portland. So I would say you cut bait with that, bring in Sidy Cissoko, who's been wonderful for you and available. And then with Caleb Love, you can probably send him down to the G League, let him develop for the rest of the season, and then see what his plans are for the rest, or for the offseason. There's no rush to get him in. I also think if you do that, keep in mind that if you do promote Sidy Cissoko, it does allow you to bring in another two-way player. And at that point, Blake Hinson, who's been wonderful for the Rip City Remix, stands out as a potential, someone I would look at to go get. But that's kind of where I think the team sits overall with how they're going to approach those two-way guys. No big trade at the trade deadline. That's why I fired this recording up. And I get it. I get people wanted more from their Portland Trailblazers in this situation because they wanted to make a big splash, especially with Giannis Antetokounmpo being rumored to be available. That seems like it might not be a thing now. Then it might be a thing tomorrow. Who knows? That thing has been wishy-washy, as wishy-washy can be. But I still think the Blazers had a good deadline. Vit Krejci's a good pickup. They still have the ability to free up a spot to get one of those two-way guys in. There's no pressure to do those deals, but they have the availability. I said a buyout makes sense because, prorate what Matisse Thybulle's owed for the rest of the year, give him 80% of it, and then you can go sign Sidy Cissoko, not worry about tax implications. That's where I think they're heading. Now, offseason, and then I know Blazer fans don't like that. Oh, well, no, the offseason. The offseason is going to be interesting because here's the thing about this deadline. A lot of the things the Blazers wanted to do really did hinge on what Giannis was going to do, because they have those picks and the pick swaps from Milwaukee. And should Giannis leave Milwaukee, those already valuable picks become even more valuable. So if they could get in on Giannis is going to Minnesota, let's get in on that. Let's be the third team and then bring in the fourth team. And we'll send Jeremy Grant out to this team. They're going to send this guy to Milwaukee. Milwaukee is obviously sending Giannis to Minneapolis. Minneapolis can send some guys out to fourth team. We'll throw in one of those picks as incentive to do all this, take on the money. Portland gets a good rotation player, or a guy that was rumored and has been rumored to be connected to the Blazers for a long time, in Mikal Bridges, which I believe to be true. You saw plenty of rumors with like Mikal Bridges and Karl Anthony Towns coming to Portland. I think the Blazers had no interest in Cat, but definitely some interest in Mikal Bridges. And so, I think they wanted to jump in to help facilitate those type of deals. But when Giannis was no longer made available and the Bucks shut the door and said, nope, we're not moving him, it threw a little bit of hindrance in that. I think the Blazers look at the fact that he still could be moved in this offseason. There's no major incentive to have to get off of Drew or Jeremy Grant right now. As much as fans say they want to and they want to move forward, with the fact that Deni Avdija is on one of the most team-friendly contracts in the history of the game, when you compare it to how well he's playing. You got Damian Lillard on a very nice contract too. If he comes back next year, isn't even a shadow of his former self at $14 million a year. You got Tumani and Shea for far cheaper than you thought. You got Scoot, who's going to, if you re-up him, you're not going to have to give him a max or anything. So you're not super, super against the clock to have to get off of those two guys. You got a little bit of time. So maybe it's the summer. I was shocked that Jeremy Grant started the year with the team, to be honest, but we'll see what happens going into next year. I still think the Blazers are in a good spot. Vit Krejci is a great pickup. Can't wait to see him again tonight. That's going to do it for the podcast here. In the future, we'll go a little longer on the stream, but I'm just testing some stuff out today. Keep in mind, you can listen to me today starting at 5 o'clock, 2 hours before every tip on Rip City Radio 620 or the iHeartRadio music app or the Rip City Radio YouTube page for the game day. And of course, when the games are done, you got the fifth quarter on the same station as well, where we break down the Trailblazers game. And Courtside Mondays, plenty of content there on Rip City Radio with yours truly. And of course, some more episodes here at the 1977 podcast. Rip City, I love you. I'll talk to you on the next one.
You've been listening to the 1977 podcast. See you next time.